The sponsor of today's interview is College Soccer's Next. College Soccer's Next is the #1 college soccer recruiting service focused on helping aspiring prospective student athletes achieve their dreams of playing college soccer. Some of the services that they're able to provide, I got to read them off the list, include a college soccer mentor who's gone through the recruiting process firsthand, a strength and conditioning coach, a sports nutrition coach, a professional highlight video editor, as well as a personal evaluation and strategic proven plan of action, as well as much, much more to make your dreams of playing college soccer turn into a reality. Book your free consultation call today down in the description at collegesoccersnext.com. Take your first steps at earning your college soccer scholarship today. Enjoy the episode, folks. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the KickABall podcast. I'm your host for today, Daniel Lang, and today we have the general manager of the expansion club, one of the expansion sides in USL League One, Mr. Blanco. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Daniel. I've been seeing what you're doing, and obviously on the socials, been following some of the guys that you've been highlighting in the university realms. We're doing our due diligence in regards to trying to identify and trying to see, the profiles that are coming up in the college ranks. So I came across what you're doing and love it, Daniel, and kudos to you.
Well, you know what? Our job, I'll tell you this now, just about when, first starting getting involved in this kind of work, but it's really all just been about highlighting stories, whether it's for gentlemen like yourself looking to try to get some of these guys to make that jump professionally, but there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes that, I never really would have known about having not done however many of these talks right now. I couldn't even tell you how many I've done at this point, but it really is just about telling stories. That's all.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, and you never know what could happen when you're telling your story. You never know who's watching. You never know, where your next contract could come from or your next move. But yeah, we're here to help, and whatever you have in store for myself in regards to questions, I'll be as transparent as possible.
I appreciate that. So firstly, the first thing, just checking up on everything behind the scenes, AV Alta Football Club. What is this? Yeah, I don't want to call it a scramble, but we'll call it controlled chaos, but behind the scenes for the club. What does that look like in bringing everything together in Antelope Valley? I mean, I'm from New York. I don't see it around, but for this New York kid, what does this look like, on your end in the general manager role?
First and foremost, I think what makes me come back full circle is obviously we love this game, right? We do things and we encounter situations and individuals to try to make a difference. I think one of the biggest ones is figuring out, the identity and also the culture of the club. And with that was a big signing of our head coach, Brian Claben, which is of Argentinian descent, was in the MLS youth programs in the Galaxy. But getting to know him and having talks with him and seeing how passionate he is about football and what he wants to do moving forward, I think it was very similar to, what we both want. It just kind of aligned, with, the views of football, the way we want to play, the direction in where we want to be. We want to compete from day one. So yeah, it was a good fit. And then also too from ownership and our president and founder, John Smelzer and David Harden, with having talks with myself and bringing me on to this project that is inside of a community that is it's awesome. Great people. I'm Hispanic, high Hispanic, 55% Hispanic there with demos, and for me, that's something that hits close to home, and I want to give opportunities to players that are in this valley, which is the Antelope Valley, and then also to players that are overseen at times, and we want to make sure that we give opportunities for that. Not it's not always going to be a signing right off the bat, but an opportunity could come in different samples of invitational tryout or a invitation to preseason. So Those are things that I want to make sure that we give, opportunities to guys that deserve it. So
100%. And I think, what becomes difficult, I think at some point, or from the outside perspective, sometimes it's difficult to bring in the kind of quality players who are going to be on this team. And I'll even ask a little bit about the front office a little bit later, but bring in players who have this pride of being a part of a team that is brand new and wanting to be a part of this first roster, but also having this threshold of being able to be effective on the pitch and being able to, really show the kind of quality that AV Alta is going to be able to put out for 2025. I mean, to talk not so particularly deep about it because I don't want to be going too much into, what you guys have going on, but what do you think of the first steps in really making sure that you're able to find high quality players, but also high quality people to be a part of something like this?
I think first off, what a lot of clubs and I would say expansion clubs have made mistakes on is that um, identifying, the culture and identifying what you want within, right? Looking in the mirror and saying, okay, this is the product that I want. This is the culture that I want. This is, uh, the I would say um, the core values that we want as a club. Um, that's the first step, knowing exactly what you want, and then also knowing the league, right? Firsthand knowing the league and what the travel is to, where we fly in at, to what stadiums we're going to be in, knowing what type of games we're going to have and style of plays that we're going to face in regards to coaching, and also, on the front office side, what thresholds we need to hit in regards to ticket sales and to sponsorships and to structurally making sure that we abide by league minimums and setting a standard from day one. Those are the things that I would say you have to identify and know off the bat. And then from there, it trickles down, into where bringing in staff, bringing in, the players, and also fitting the style that coach wants, right? Um, we have to know that, we are going to support Coach Brian Claven with how he visions the team and how he wants to play. And sometimes, football has different point of views. And, at the same time, we have to support him because he's going to be the one leading us on the field. So, he needs his personnel, he needs his weapons and on the field of how he's going to be successful and that's what we want to do is support. I always feel, titles are titles, but for me is I want to be in another assistant for him in and also someone that he could utilize for us to be successful. So we're always dialoguing, we're always on the phone, watching games. So a year ramp up helps out a lot as well too on the field, and then also preparation off the field in regards to first the front office. It's huge. Time is huge. You just can't what you give, the product that you give out or the time that you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So taking your time, making sure you're doing things right. There's always going to be mistakes, but fixing them and looking yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, this is what the product that I potentially am going to put out. It speaks volumes of yourself as well too, that you're, and the club. So it's a huge responsibility. I think time helps out expansion clubs. So we've started, about a year and a half ago, identifying um, individuals that could be a good part of the club, um, individuals that could potentially play for our team, and then also to just the logistics behind it, right? Our training site, where are we going to train? What our locker rooms to equipment to, all the small details of making sure that things run fluid. So yeah, that's a kind of a long-winded answer, but that's something that I feel very very passionate about because the details are what makes championships. So
And I think a detail that you brought up though too that is very vital is being able to have this discourse between front office, coaching staffs, and I think to a certain degree there will be. I don't want to speak on the organization, but there's a relationship between front office to coach to players and back on its way up. So
Mm.
when when I look on the outside though too, a lot of work that I've done just regularly in school has been analyzing certain organizational structures in business. So it is beneficial to have people who have these core values and they are things that are shared that are beneficial that move structures forward for certain businesses, but to also have these differences in opinion as well. I mean, something to a lesser degree to this extent, maybe it's a disagreement about um, certain schemes that you want that want to be played out on the pitch. Maybe there's one opinion that's here, but it's different from the coaches, and that's something that I think could be talked through and being able to have that. And that has its own benefits as well. How do you manage working with a team that just from the looks of just from the outside looking in is a little smaller than ones that are solidified in USL League One already, but still being able to have the conversations if if differing opinions come up, being able to think through certain things and understanding the best decision moving forward. What does that look like? Again, behind the scenes that I'm unknown for.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the work is done behind the scenes. So I think one of the biggest ones. So one, hold on really quick. Apologies.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah, so one I would say one of the biggest things that I would say is the work that is done behind the scenes is crucial, very crucial. Sometimes it's for a person that is looking from the outside in, it's unnoticed, right?
Right.
We're not done building our staff. We're not done, building our front office staff, right? All we could do is, project like these are the timings, right? These are when stadium is going to be finalized. We have operational needs. We have, front office needs too. We have staff needs that we still wants. There's wants and needs, right? So having that balance as well too in regards to budgeting, in regards to what can we do without, what can we do with, right? So again, balancing those wants and needs are huge as well. But I think, for what we have in an expansion club, again, knowing the league and what we're going to face is very crucial. Is very crucial because you foresee those hidden costs in a sense. You foresee those um, potential delays with flights. All those things that we've already prepared for. I think that's what's going to benefit us, moving into 2025.
Very interesting. And you can
Yeah,
count me as someone. I mean, I've been talking with Benchito for a little while, and he's been someone
yeah.
that very connected with in terms of just being able wanting to see this team succeed and do well. And I can't wait for March 2025. And I really I want to see the product now, but that I think that's just that's my human nature. I want to see the team
Yeah.
win.
The good thing is that, again, coming into this, knowing what we need to get done, we have our preseason already done, solidified.
Very
We're just having, maybe we could add one more game or just seeing how we're going to figure things out. But we already have commitments from, MLS clubs, from, championship clubs that, we've been blessed with in regards to having 10 to, 13 professional teams here in just California alone. So yeah, so we have a exciting preseason that is going to see where we're at, and and kind of give us a I would say a threshold or a kind of a level of where we're going to be at moving into the 2025 season.
And another thing I want to talk about though too before I ask you a few things just about your own footballing and professional journeys, but I mean the 661 supporters group has been phenomenal. From their social media presence to I mean I always try to just highlight them as much as I can. I mean they just seem like it's just such a fun environment and a group to really be a part of. I mean I never really knew about it so much because I wasn't so ingrained in the soccer scene in the US. But now that I'm seeing this, I realize just how, I mean, amazing of a section that this really is for some of these teams. I mean, talk about your experiences with it. I mean, and what you knew about it first. I imagine there's an origin story somewhere.
Like, first off, I would say as a player, when you have supporters, I've gotten the opportunity to play in Latin America countries where, it's not a sport. It's a way of living. It's a passion. It's something that, um, sometimes it's more important than family alone, right? That's your family, which is a supporters group. Um, I saw the passion behind it. I saw certain individuals from the 661 that, you know, that bought in right away. And when I saw them, gather and I saw the structure already when I got into the community, it just blew me away. It brought so much emotion for me because I just remember those times when, inside of a stadium of, when people are just beating the drums and thanking you for a great game, or ripping you for not having a good game, right? But that's just it's passion. And for me, what I've learned from the 661 is it's unity. It's a family oriented, structure, organized, because there's two individuals that came together from opposing supporter groups, which is the Galaxy and the LAFC, but have done it right. They came in and had their their nonprofit status, and rules for the club, and non-negotiables for members that are going to be part of it. And so structurally and organization already there are, you know way ahead of schedule, right? And they know, right? And they know, so they know all the protocols, and to smoke bombs, to all that good stuff. And for me, that created more of a effort to support them, because it holds you accountable on the type of level that they've been a part of. So I'm super excited for what they're going to bring to the club. I can't wait for opening day. It's going to be definitely uh, emotional, 100%. Just kind of taking that moment a step back, and you see all the hopefully sold out stadium, and you see the 661 going crazy for our team. So yeah,
I mean, can you even put that kind of moment into words? I mean, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of you of being able to see what I think is going to be a packed stadium regardless. But you have your
yeah,
supporters group, you have your players in the new kit that released I think a few weeks ago only though too. That's still
yes,
very
yes.
much fresh on people's minds. But and I haven't even seen anything of what goes on from the back from on the back end. But I mean, can you even put that kind of moment into words?
I, you know, at times you don't like, having to be a part of a previous club. And I think it hit me once where we had El Paso in Fresno, in an Open Cup, and little by little people started trickling in, and next thing you know, we have 6,800 people there at the stadium, and we're up 4-0 at first half, against El Paso in Open Cup. So, those are moments where you're like, wow, okay, now I see, the support. Now I see, why we have these long days for. But I've already had a lot of those moments here with, the 661, with the organization, because the stadium. to the way the club wants to be ran, to the ownership, to the front office, to our marketing team, to our sales team, like all that, all the effort you see, all together, it just gives you energy to keep pushing, right? And then sometimes you kind of step back, in those moments of our crest reveal on Lancaster Boulevard where we had 3,000 uh, people there just for our crest reveal, right? And our announcements of our colors and shields and what the crest meant. It was well thought out, from our president and ownership. But those are moments where you're like, wow, okay, now I see why we push so hard. Now I see why we put our life on hold at times for this project. It's just not, a paycheck or a 9 to 5. It's something for myself. It's like I want to win a championship our first year. I want to win at everything. I want to have the highest season ticket in in the league. Our merch, I want our merch to be the best. So those are competition pillars of for us as a club that we got it keeps us accountable and we want to push, right? You just don't want to come in this and just kind of going through the motions where I see a lot of clubs at times, over time kind of do, but um, that's it takes effort and it takes time to and appreciation for for employees and members of this project. Just the reminders of why we're doing it, and also reminders of why they are appreciated through this process as well. So yeah, man, I'm excited. Very excited to see, how March, or hopefully March, the third week of March, early April, our first home opener is going to be.
So, I mean, I want to ask though, I want to go back to the beginning of this project. Why Antelope Valley? Why did this seem like the perfect place to be?
You know what? It's funny. John, he tells this story, and I,
Yeah.
I love to hear it. It's always, he says, man, I've said this story thousands of times, but every time I hear it, you kind of just put yourself in his shoes. You put yourself in. Sometimes it's not about, the effort of, wanting something so bad, and you're pushing hard and pressing, and sometimes it's just the stars aligned, and you know you have a vision, then you ask a question, and then that question turns into reality. And he saw the stadium off the 14 while he was driving, and he mentions that he told his wife that he wants to put a football team there, and tells him to do it, and stop talking about it and do it. And so he cold calls the city. And asks, what's happening with the stadium. I'm working on, getting a USL franchise. Um, and I want to put a professional club inside of that stadium. And they were all about it, and that's how it moved, right? So 500 plus, 500,000 plus, uh, people inside of the Antelope Valley, 55%, Hispanic demographic. Um, you have Lancaster, a soccer complex out there with 34 fields, and on a Saturday it's completely full, right? So it made sense, right? And it's not in LA, the city of LA, but it's still in Los Angeles County. So it's far enough away to, for people to make the decision that I don't want to drive all the way to LA to watch a game, so and deal with the traffic. So it's so that's how, thoughts were being made, and that's how this project came along. And when I heard about it, I was like, "Man, you know what? It's going to work. I think it will work, especially with, the support of the city of Lancaster and city of Palmdale. They've been amazing. That's what it takes. It takes uh, city entities, community entities, a community in itself to support a project and it comes up to life. So this is a perfect example of when everybody gets together, a lot of big things could happen, so.
Well said. And I like that you brought up this piece that, yeah, Los Angeles County, but we're not we're separate from LA, and that's something that I
Yeah.
think really is personal to this area though too. I mean, like until I really realized and did my my research on just just the California area and the landscape of some of these pro teams, I thought LA was LA, and I didn't realize firstly how far away some cities are between each other. San Francisco and LA, I thought were not as far away as I thought they were, but that's a whole other thing. But to be able to create your own identity, in a county that people have synonymous with such an image of just the beaches and the cities and Hollywood and everything else, but having still been in LA County, but also creating this own image of Antelope Valley is so it's difficult at times, but I think it's really working well, with this base, and it's also working with people. I keep referring to my East Coast, of being from New York, but it's other people who are really seeing this personality and this characterization show up for a Alta Football Club.
Yep. Yeah, it's talent. So there's a lot of talent, tons of talent inside of the Antelope Valley in regards to not just football, but uh, perfect example is our marketing team, right? They get a thought in their brain and it just starts spinning. And I love the way that they just start bouncing ideas. And next thing you know, we have a flag with a guy on a horse dancing in the middle of the desert. Uh, and he's driving around. I mean, he's riding around and uh, and that's what they had their thought and it came to life, right? So that's it just tells you that there's so many talented individuals in every spectrum of this business, um, that you talk about LA and Hollywood, and there's a lot of people that commute and talented people that commute to LA to work those type of jobs, right? So now we're creating opportunities here where it's funny, we kicked off with our academy about 2 weeks ago, and the when I came here, the word was I need to go down to San Fernando. I need to go to LA to find opportunities and to find opportunities for football, right? And we've had a great group of AV players on our academy, but you have a sprinkle of 5 to 6 players now driving up from LA, coming to Antelope Valley to find an opportunity, right? And that switch just happened in months, right? Where everybody had, Sean, Sean to Castellanos to a lot of MLS players to that traveled over to LA and had to find these opportunities. But when you sit those moments of sitting back and seeing, okay, and now we're changing the narrative. Now we're having you know players from LA, players from San Fernando Valley, players from different areas of LA coming to the Antelope Valley. It's huge, right? You're changing a narrative that has never been changed before.
And on all, really just trying, again, going back to this idea of just giving young ballers this opportunity to be able to really showcase their ability on the academy and the professional level in due time.
And and it's only the beginning, right? Because professional minutes are huge for players, right? Young profiles, right? When I go look at a CV, when I get a name thrown at me, first thing I do is look them up. It's either Transfer Market, Y Scout, wherever it's at, and I look at where they've been and what they've done. And so those are the things that are huge for our young guys, that a 16, 17, 18-year-old player with 1,000 USL minutes, you never know where their future could go, right? So that's what we want to do. That's what we envision on doing with certain profiles, and hopefully, these guys with that opportunity, this is just the first stop of many. So
So I also want to go talk a little bit about, I want to hear a little bit about, your own personal journey though too. I mean, I know you talked about having a football career in Latin America. I believe El Salvador in the first division of
yes.
El Salvador. But tell me about your footballing journey.
Yeah, so I didn't have too much of a club when I was young. Too much of I played a bit of club, about 3 years of club, 4 years of club. But then right after that, I started playing PDL back in the day. It's USL too now, but it's PDL at the age of 15 with Fresno Fuego. And then, had that, I was 15 and on a reserve team, getting sporadic minutes every now and then, maybe making the 18-man roster, but we had tons and tons of talent here, on that team. So that made me grow up quick, right? Playing with older profiles, guys that, played MLS, guys that are getting MLS looks. And so I knew right away that that's what I wanted to do. And, I had to aspire and keep up with older players and talented players. And so that's how it went on. So I played with Fresno Fuego since the age of 15, all the way to um, 2021. Then I went to Fresno Pacific University, played there 4 years, left a bit early, went to El Salvador, then played in Costa Rica a bit, and then from there went to the USL Pro with Charlotte Eagles, and had a bad injury, and then from there I tried to come back, played some uh, some games against some MLS teams for preseason with the Fuego when I came back to Central Valley, but I just knew that recovery from my injury wasn't the same anymore, right? Ibuprofen and elevation were my best friends, and
Mhm.
so that's when the day to day was just it was heartbreaking, it's for myself knowing that I couldn't recover from that injury anymore. So there was a period of time where I just kind of lost my identity. I'm not the soccer player anymore, and had struggled with that, and kind of didn't want to see the game anymore. I just stepped away from it. I got into business. I started working in sales with Coca-Cola, and then just didn't even want to watch football. After a while, just friends started contacting me with projects of, making in agencies with college players and professional players. And so I started dabbling into that, and, we started plugging players into professional teams. Little by little, I started getting dragged out back, from um, from working with corporations and got back into the game, and then started coaching with Fresno City College. And while I was helping out, some professional players get placed in different USL and MLS teams as well. And my first year was with Fresno City College, and we won a state title there in 2017. Um, Lost in the Final Four 2018 and won another state title in 2019. And yeah, and then that's how I helped out the Fresno FC, the USL championship team that came along, helped out a little bit. And then that's how I started getting back into the game. So I just went full force, kind of left the commercial, corporate settings of work and just started getting back into football. And then yeah, so COVID came and the project of Central Valley Fuego um, came to Fresno, and they asked me if I could help out. And during that time, I started my own business alongside with my brother. which was solid goods print company. Um, and and yeah, I was, I would help out to bring players, recruitment and all that good stuff. But again, little by little, I started getting pushed in, and I became the vice president of the club. And yeah, and now that's the history. And then from there, I decided to part ways with Central Valley Fuego, and then the opportunity with AV Alta came up, and I thought it was a great fit. So for me, it's all about my non-negotiables is to work with great people and to work with, morale has to be at the same, I would say, similar to what I view how life needs to be, and is just treat people right, and the rest will come. So yeah, no, that's how I ended up in AV Alta in a nutshell. So
Very nice. And I gotta ask though too, I think sometimes it's it's unfortunately lost on some people. And maybe this is just from me seeing, I mean, I could tell you my school's very pre-professional, for better or worse. You got freshmen in college looking for their internship during the summer in their first week of school. And I wish I was exaggerating on that, but I was a little caught off guard with that kind of thing. But and that's not to say that it's good, bad, or indifferent, but I think sometimes people are willing to work, or at least the people that I've met, that they're willing to work for just about anyone, regardless, maybe detaching themselves a little bit from, the moral standpoint that they may wish that they're able to bring in, but they're willing to compromise on that. I mean, what's been the importance for you of surrounding yourself with people who are willing to be um, advocates, rational supporters, to be able to have conversations of being able to figure out the best way of moving forward in a career, making business decisions. Like you said, I mean, don't I forget your exact words as I was speaking of this, but you want to be able to commit to your own morals of working with good people. But how do you make sure that in a professional life, in the professional career that young people end up moving into, what would you say to a young person who, maybe is a little, I don't want to say iffy, but is a little nervous about, maybe not always working with the right people and, having to compromise on something like that?
well, one thing I would say is sometimes you got to sacrifice in order. I'm not saying like, hey, everything's going to be perfect. It's
Oh,
not,
right.
right? Yeah, but at the grand scheme of things, you know what's right and what's wrong to your moral standpoint, right? Because right and wrong is a huge, um, uh, I would say a point of view, right? There's a lot of, we could be talk, you and I could talk at lengths of, what you grew up on, what your point of views on life is, and what your decision making is in regards to what you've gone through in life. But for myself, it's sometimes you do have to go through some thick times in order for you to identify what your non-negotiables are in regards to morals, in regards to the people you surround yourself with, right? I've always uh, tried to be a straight shooter. At times, I feel like it's kind of put me in situations of being viewed as too harsh, too direct. But I'd rather tell the direct truth and straight on than to leave things lingering or be viewed as deceitful or trying to deceive someone. But yeah, that's I feel like if I'm talking to a young person or speaking to a young person and giving them advice, I would say, you have to go through these experiences to know, right? You sometimes it's the best experiences if you throw yourself in and just say, hey, fuck it, let's just go. Let's make things happen. And through first hand experience of getting your hands dirty and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations is when you learn the most, right? And that's when you create character even for yourself of Like I know exactly what I want and what I don't want, and I sometimes I need to face the fire when things are going bad, and then not to. Uh, I've gotten some great advice from a mentor of mine, back in the days, don't get too highs on your highs and don't get too lows on your lows. When things are going really good, hey, calm yourself down. All right, take it in, celebrate a bit, but let's move on to the next thing. Let's win the next one, right? Or don't go down so bad where it's affecting your performance on the next loss or the next low, right? So yeah, I think my advice would be is you know analyze. If it's not perfect, take a chance, and no matter what, it's going to be a learning experience. So you're not going to get experience of being too careful or being too uh, picky in a sense of, this opportunity is not mine because this, and this, and this is not um, to my liking, right? So, yeah,
I mean, again, I appreciate the insight. As much as I ask for the hypothetical young people, it's always something that I'm willing to take with, for the future. So I really do appreciate the insight.
no problem, no problem.
And for my last thing that I want to talk about though too, I mean, it was promoted very much so on social media, but I want to give people a chance to understand the story behind the crest and the design and the kits that we've been able to see so much of. We could see it, but I'm curious to just hear, from your end, what the process of gathering and making sure you're getting the right colors and the right schemes and the right designs, or how much of that you had your input on it, or who was delegated with that task of,
Yeah.
like design aspect. But if you wouldn't mind, I would love to hear that story.
Yeah, I would love to say that I put tons of input into that,
Very
but
nice. Okay.
again,
I got the right guy then.
yeah, no, but again, I would say that it was I did not. John and our marketing team, and also too, we've had some help from an individual that came in and had groups, right? Spoke to the community. There was a lot of thought process to this and a lot of effort of opinions from the community, right? There's um, community meetings, and what do you see when, what do you think of when of the Antelope Valley when, um, if we would put it on a jersey? What are the most importance for the Antelope Valley? What are keywords? So there was a lot of work behind this. And we even dialogued internally, right, for myself. And I'm the type of like, hey, just let's get the name, let's get it going. I need to get to work. I'm
Right.
more of a
Yeah.
brute type of guy, and I'm like, dude, let's just get the jersey going. We gotta get players signed. We gotta get visas. We need to get players on the field. We need to get housing.
I
Of more that type. But John and the marketing team and the external help that created this, they did an excellent job. The B2 bomber inside of the A's, the Joshua Green and the desert sand. A lot of there's a lot of pride when it comes to the B2 bomber and aerospace. Here in the Antelope Valley, that's one of the big staples inside of the Antelope Valley. And it is well represented, right? We have the Joshua tree inside of our jersey that, you take a drive down the 14 and you see tons of them, So I think, the design and the representation that, the group put behind this was well thought out, was well executed as well too. A lot of, you know, we're not going to keep everybody happy, right? There's always designers, or I call them, I would say grandstand coaches, where they're
right.
coaching from now, yeah, right. So, again, I think it was a great job, and the marketing team and John, they did an excellent job. I'm glad, the home kit is done, and now it's on to our away kit. So hopefully we do a great job with that.
And I have no doubt that this organization will, with everything else that
Yeah.
has gone right. I mean, yeah.
No, for sure. And and to sum it up with this, I think one of the just to put it out there, one of the things that we want to do is create a well-received environment where yourself, if you would come into to a visit or you would come to visit us, you know that this club takes care of you on your visit. This club embraces you. It's warm and you've had a great time, right? That's what we want to do. And when I've visited tons of organizations and clubs in multiple countries, and you feel that the professional ones, and you feel like the people that embrace you in clubs, and you're like, wow, um, these guys are professional. These guys do a great job of hosting. Information's is great. Not everybody's the same, but one thing, the treatment of our players, the treatment of our staff, that's something that we are going to double down on, right? So, and then also we want to have a chip on our shoulder and win games, and you know, and and eat people alive when it comes to coming to our stadium. So yeah, that's kind of what we want to reflect when people think of AV Alta FC.
Right then. Well, I mean, I'm all out of everything I want to ask you. And again, I'd like to thank you for your time. It's been a phenomenal conversation, Mr. Blanco. But that being said, I always do like to leave a minute or so at the end of the interview in case there's anything else that you would like to put out there. But again, I've really enjoyed the conversation. I thank you for your time.
I appreciate you, Daniel. We'll talk soon. Hey, good luck with everything.
Yep, thank you so much.